Welcome back to the channel and welcome to Scotland for stage 2 of the ZRacing Level Up series. And today there is absolutely no time to lose. Right from the start we immediately attacked the Sgurr Summit South KOM during the lead-in. As this was only my second race in the advanced category, my first goal was very simple. Survive the lead-in, stay with the group and try not to get dropped before the race had even really started. So let's go, stage 2 Scotland. BRAEk-fast, grids and grids, and trust me, this one starts really fast. I started the climb near the front and that was exactly the plan. Start early, suffer later. Towards the top it definitely became harder, but in the advanced category you're racing against seriously strong riders. Still, when we reached the summit, I was still nicely inside the group and I had already noticed that a few riders had been dropped behind us. That gave me some confidence. Maybe today would not be about winning, but at least I was pretty sure I wasn't going to finish last. As we start the descent, it's time to give you today's race overview. As you just saw, we start with the lead-in up to the Sgurr climb, and from there we head towards Glasgow, where the Clyde kicker is waiting for us. After that we hit the champion sprint and make our way back towards the Scottish Highlands, where we enter the BRAEk circuit. And that circuit is not just a quick visit, we have to go through it 4 times. Then in the final part of the race, the road starts rising again as we head back towards the Sgurr climb, and that is where everything will be decided in a brutal uphill sprint to the finish. For today's race, I went with the same setup as last week. My personal ambition was simple: stay with the group for as long as possible. And it was also very nice and cool to see that Felix was on the start line today. Felix has been following the channel for quite some time and is one of those people who regularly leaves a kind comment on my videos. And honestly, those are the people we do this for. Because let's be real, it's not always easy to find the motivation to record, edit and publish these videos when the view count isn't exactly setting YouTube on fire. But people like Felix make all the difference. A simple comment, a bit of encouragement, or just knowing that someone enjoys watching the content is often enough to keep going. So Felix, thank you for that. And it's pretty special to think that not too long ago I was racing in the lower categories and now I've progressed into the advanced category and we are standing on the same start line together. That's one of the things I love most about Zwift. We're all chasing our own goals, but we're doing it together. As we fly through Glasgow, I realize I've already been riding well above my FTP for more than 7 minutes. And let me tell you, this course is nothing like Sprinter's Playground from last week, where I could still ride relatively comfortably and save some energy. Not today. Every acceleration hurts, every bump in the road hurts, every time the pace goes up I have to dig a little deeper just to stay in contact with the group. At this point I'm already riding at my limit, and the worst part, I'm starting to notice that I'm hanging on by a thread. The elastic hasn't snapped yet, but it's stretched to the absolute maximum. If this pace continues, it's going to be a very long race. And honestly, I'm starting to wonder if this is going to end well. Just outside Glasgow, I managed to sprint back onto the last wheel of the group. And in my head I'm thinking, surely the pace will drop now. After such a fast start, everyone must be looking for a second breath before we hit the BRAEk segment 4 times, right? Well, absolutely not. On the section in between, the speed stays brutally high and I'm seriously gasping for air. My legs are now right on the edge. And then, on the final slightly rising section, it happens. I just can't turn the pedals anymore. My legs completely explode, and just before we reach the top, I have to let the group go. Looking back, it almost feels stupid, because we're talking about maybe 100 meters, but in that moment, there was simply nothing left. Watching it back now, this moment still hurts, because just as I get dropped, it doesn't even look like the group immediately rides away from me that fast. Most likely, the recovery moment came exactly there, but still, empty is empty. And I also knew I still had a lot of racing left to do. Now I'm stuck completely on my own, right between two groups. And that means one thing, decision time. The front group is gone, so looking ahead is probably pointless. But do I sit up, wait for the group behind and start saving energy? Or do I keep pushing at my own pace and try to protect the gap I still have? I choose the second option. If nothing else, for pride. From this point on, I'm going to fast forward things a little, because despite what I thought a few minutes ago, I wasn't completely empty after all. Once the panic of getting dropped faded away, I slowly found my rhythm again. And more importantly, I found a second wind. For quite some time I ended up riding completely alone in no man's land. Not close enough to the riders ahead to make a comeback, not slow enough for the riders behind to catch me. Just me, my bike and a lot of Scottish roads. It wasn't exactly the race scenario I had hoped for, but at that point there was only one thing left to do. Keep pushing, keep believing and make the best of it. Of course, as the kilometers went by, I could see the group behind getting closer and closer. And honestly, it was probably wishful thinking to believe I could hold them off all by myself until the finish. This is the advanced category after all. So at some point, I made a conscious decision. Instead of emptying the tank completely, trying to defend the gap, I backed off the pace slightly and started thinking ahead. Because if I was going to get caught anyway, I wanted to make sure I still had something left for the final climb. The race wasn't over yet, and if there was one thing I had learned by now, it was that the Sgurr climb was going to punish anyone who arrived there with empty legs. And just after completing the final lap of the BRAEk segment, the chasing group finally made it back to my wheel. And now the race entered a new phase. The good news was that I was no longer riding alone. The bad news was that the hardest part was still to come. From here on, the road would gradually start rising again as we headed back towards the final ascent of the Sgurr climb. So my focus shifted immediately. No more heroics, no more trying to ride away on my own. It was time to recover, settle into the group and prepare for one last effort. Because whether I liked it or not, the race was about to be decided uphill. At the front of the group, Volnes and CP started turning the screws once again. The pace went up, the group stretched out, and you could feel everyone preparing for the final showdown. But this time, things felt different. Unlike earlier in the race, I never had the feeling that I was about to get dropped. In fact, I still felt surprisingly strong. My breathing was under control, my legs were responding well, and for the first time in quite a while, I felt confident again. Whatever happened next, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't getting dropped on this section. Not today. If the final climb was going to hurt, then so be it. But I was going to be there when it happened. As we hovered around 40th place out of 65 riders, I wasn't quite sure whether to be happy or disappointed. But then I looked at the numbers. At 81 to 82 kilos, I'm definitely not a lightweight climber. Yet I was averaging around 310 watts. Those are numbers I don't hit very often. So even though I was somewhere in the middle of the field, I felt proud of the performance. And if I can race against riders of this level every week, I will only get stronger. And so we finally hit the Sgurr climb, 1 kilometer of full gas all the way to the finish banner. I decided to start the climb near the front again, hoping I could use the stronger riders as a target and somehow drift along with their pace for as long as possible. At this point there was no more strategy left, just survive, suffer and hold on. Halfway up the climb it was CP who launched the first real attack. Nivang immediately responded and Los Muertos came past me as well. For a moment CP looked like he was simply riding away from everyone. But as we got closer to the finish I managed to fight my way back onto the wheels of Nivang and Los Muertos. Unfortunately, that wasn't the end of the action. Out of nowhere, Broadway came flying past with a massive acceleration. I had no answer to that move and Los Muertos managed to stay just out of reach as well. In the end, I crossed the line in 41st place, 2 minutes and 40 seconds behind the race winner Percival, who was joined on the podium by Dag and Sørensen. Sørensen, a name we all remember from last week's race. And while 41st place may not sound spectacular, I was pretty happy with the result. After all, this was only my second race in the advanced category. And our friend Felix, he ended up in the top 30, 29th, 24 seconds of our winner, Percival. Congratulations Felix with this nice result. And before we wrap things up, I just want to ask for one small favor. If you're enjoying these videos, it would really help the channel if you could leave a like and hit that subscribe button. After all, it's completely free and I would genuinely appreciate the support. Creating, recording and editing these videos takes quite a bit of time, and every like, comment and subscription helps more than you might think. Thank you for watching, thank you for the support, and I will see you soon for stage 3 on the hilly route reverse in Watopia. Until then, ride on and bye bye!